Aloha, everybody. My name is Patricia Wistinghausen. You can just say Trisha, if anything for short. I live here on Kaua'i. I'm from Wailua in Kaua'i, and I am a consultant. I think you can maybe kind of see the sign behind me, but it says Patricia Wistinghausen Consulting, LLC. So what I do is I kind of have a wide range of services that, depending on what organizations, small businesses, and things need, I will assist them with it, kind of just all around problem solver, connector collaborator. So with one organization, I help with grant advising, so helping review grant applications and just editing. So I love to write, and that's something that I aim to do more of myself in general, not just grant writing, but just overall, right? Creative writing and just writing a book and just really anything, because it really helps your brain function, right? And it's fun to do and get out your thoughts and everything. And then another thing that I do is, which we'll talk more in depth about, is I help with content creation and marketing. So that'll be like designs of flyers and posts and different things like that, which is why I said I spend more time on Instagram, because that's the main platform for the You Got This Kauai campaign, which we're going to be doing the Post It for Kauai activity together today during this. And another thing is I do help with just overall, just like branding or logos or colors, the branding palette, right? And what I really enjoy doing is just teaching people how to do like things like using social media or setting up or reaching out to their audiences. I enjoy doing that because I'd rather teach people how to do something right than to do it for them. I can do things for others as well. But that's kind of on the consulting end. And then suicide prevention education, that's another really big piece. Is I do these Safe Talk suicide prevention trainings here for our island. And then I've been with the Prevent Suicide Kauai Task Force for the past, over 7 years. The task force has been around for about 14, but same thing, the main issue is a lot of people don't know that it exists. So I've been creating like signage and marketing materials and just even the information cards, which Sarah has a packet for each of you guys. I don't know if you had gotten it yet, but it's there. It has you have some wristbands, you have some lanyards, you have some pens and things, and it has some information in it, right, on if you were to need help for yourself, struggling with mental health, not just depression, but anxiety is a big indicator for potentially, like when it's sustained for over 2 weeks and you don't have that release or support network, or you don't know what to do or where to go, then that's when maybe somebody might be starting to think about like suicidal ideation is what we call it, thinking about suicide. And really the best way to help prevent suicide is by talking about it. And September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. So that's one of the things where Sarah and I had a virtual meeting last week, and just to touch base and talk about how we can collaborate on the You Got This Kauai campaign with the Kauai Community Science Center, but also just like in general, right, that community focused, community minded, like how do you reach out to assist others, right? Like how can you use like what you know or what you figure out how to do, because a lot of things is just from scratch. That's the whole basis of it is, and then of course taking care of our own mental health and well-being along the way. And one of the things, just to let you guys know, like I know Sarah wanted me to share a little more about my background or experience even getting to this point where I have my own company. It's a little over a year old now, but I've been doing this kind of advocacy work for, I would say, over a decade, typically as a volunteer. And I guess I don't know if you want me to share screen a little bit, but I mean,
Sure.
if anything, you guys have I was gonna say, I know you have some of the links that were sent out, but let me see here. There's a lot of stuff I can go over. So it just depends how, I guess, how much time, Sarah, and then what, if there were certain things you wanted me to highlight, but I guess I'll finish up the background stuff that way. Okay, let me see. Here we go. So sharing my screen. So if you go to trishwisty.com, it's going to take you to my link tree, which again, it's like a tool that I super love that you can create for yourself as well, depending on your, I don't want to say just even your age range, but it's like a quick way to be able to have an all-in-one spot for people to go. You don't have to know code or build a website, but it's literally like a series of buttons. And so for mine personally, I, have my logo, destigmatizing the act of being yourself. That's what I feel like my work is, or my passion is trying to do that for myself, as in, come as I am, feel how I'm gonna feel, but also, and encourage other people to do the same, right? Because it's a lot of when we suppress our experiences, when we suppress our opinions, what we think, what we feel, that's when we start to get unwell. And I already mentioned mental health speaker, and suicide prevention education, but I also do love to focus on empowering women leaders. So young women and girls. I was with the committee on the status of women with the counties, boards, and commissions. So if you were to click on the about section here, then it takes you here. And if you kind of see, there's like a lot of things I've been involved with. So whether it's sexual violence prevention, environmental, economic, social justice issues, rural health, emergency management, that's kind of my background. So I was a safety, security, emergency manager. And that's a lot of planning and mitigation, we say. So whatever form or topic it's always outreach, education, or prevention. Is how do we kind of stop crises before they happen or minimize impact of it. And so if you kind of look through, I kind of give my why I'm doing this, which I'm going to make it more brief eventually. But for now, I said, you know what, it's good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just put it out there. And so you can kind of check that out when you get a chance. And same thing, I'm going to be putting up more links. I did a couple interviews recently about Suicide Prevention Awareness Month and covering the resources, which I would be happy to cover with you guys as well. But down here as well, you have all the kind of buttons to go to the 24/7 lifeline, which is suicide prevention lifeline is 1-800-273-TALK. And then if there's veterans or veteran family members, you can press 1 for that specific assistance. And then there's the chat also, because not everybody wants to talk on a phone. You can chat with somebody. And then there's also a text crisis line, which I have to add that button to my page. But the Trevor Project, this is LGBTQ youth suicide prevention resources and a lifeline. So that's a really great one. And then for those of us, if you have lost somebody to suicide, you're a survivor of suicide loss. So this Alliance of Hope organization is wonderful as far as an online forum for kind of getting that support, connecting with people who've had the same shared experiences, right? Because that's a lot of the way that we can heal. And to share with you again, preventsuicidekaua'i.org, that's how you get to here. And this is kind of where we're going to spend some time, because it's related to this month's theme for the You Got This campaign, which is Post It Forward. And so in here, you can sign up for the email list. This is the flyer. It's kind of pulsing there, so you notice it. And so there's a whole series of buttons. And actually, even tomorrow on the 15th, I think you guys are in school, but 10 a.m. we're doing a proclamation online with the mayor. And so that's where they just kind of acknowledge, announce it's Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. That and then I'm going to share resources, and for the people that kind of show up, I have more kind of stuff to give you, prevent suicide Kaua'i stuff. But I also just personally bought gift cards, like $5 gift cards to Kaua'i Juice Company, to Rainbow Joe's food truck in the Hui. So that's coffee smoothies, and they're just all sweet people. So I like to support the local businesses in that sense, right? That community focus. So if you come to that, or even we have let's see, I think I opened up that flyer already. That's Post It Forward. That is the You Got This. So I'm going to be at the kiosk at the mall on Friday. So Sarah came and met up with me last Friday. So that's how I was able to give her the different packets and things for you. But if you come, yeah, and visit at the kiosk and just let me know or introduce yourself, right? I have gift cards for you. Just let me know. And I have, different things. I even have bags of cotton candy just because I love cotton candy. I want an excuse to buy it, I guess, but also I wanted to give it to other people, right? More so that I haven't even had a bag yet, but I just figure it's something fun, right? Something to connect, something to uplift others. Is we'll get into that for Post It Forward. Is the idea is we want to be able to create a community where you feel supported, you feel like someone hears you and they see you, especially when it comes to a scary subject like suicide. And for myself, I have had suicidal ideations. There was two major times. One was just a couple of years ago where I thought that I was going to end up taking my own life. And it was through participating in the Prevent Suicide Kaua'i Task Force and becoming a trainer that I ended up like deciding, like I had the support, I had the resources, and it was still a struggle. And I do all these things, but I live with depression, I live with anxiety, and I talk about this now because I know that it can help people, right? It has that potential to be able to, when you share your experiences of what you've gone through or what you're maybe even still going through, like it can, it helps you connect with others, right? And maybe there's somebody that needs to hear it. And a lot of times when I bring it up, when I bring up about the suicide stuff, someone else shares their experiences, or they share about their loss, or they ask me for resources. And then I send it to them. So I end up texting people, emailing, just whatever it is, on the phone with them, walking them through things. That's kind of like a broad overview about me and just kind of what I'm up to. Do you guys have any questions, or is there anything? I know it's like a lot of information, but I just wanted to check in. How are you guys doing?
I was wondering, what is the suicide rates like for the women?
During the pandemic? Is that what, or just in general?
General, and maybe if there was a spike during the pandemic, or
So that's the thing, is like prior to this past year, we were in the 20s or so on Kaua'i, and typically we've been the top in the state county wise for the number of suicides that we have in our community, or confirmed suicides, we say, because some might not get categorized, right, depending on the situation. And we were in the 20s in the past like 3-4 years or so. And then this past year in 2020, I think it was about 10 confirmed. And part of that though is there has been an increase, right, in people calling the lifelines, calling the counseling lines, and a number of that, there's been pandemic resource information in line. So that's also what's on that. I can kind of scan back through that suicide prevention, the links. But if you look on there, there's a whole section as well, right, with all the resources. And essentially, like, I think so every month, every fourth Wednesday of the month, we have a Prevent Suicide Kaua'i Task Force meeting. And at that meeting are different partners. So it's like community partners would be like nonprofits, you have your businesses, you have your government, right, people who work with government. But I think the biggest, like, kind of the key or advocates or ambassadors in the community are the individual community members that show up to participate. And that's how I showed up initially. And then I just kept going because, again, you have that shared experience and that support. And then so among us, we'll bring up, hey, I'm having this event, or I'm doing this training, I want to reach out to this particular community. And so we collaborate, and that's where you see that whole list of different things happening this month is based on that. It's like people coming together. As far as and this portion would just be, just my opinion of sorts, is from what I see as a person who lives with a mental health, we say condition, right? It doesn't have to always be mental health issues, but essentially is that part of the pandemic, like the relief for some has been that the lack of that societal pressure, because sometimes, like, if you're overwhelmed, if you want to spend time on your own, then you might it might be more difficult if you have a lot of social invitations, right? To be somewhere, to do something. You don't want to let people down. You want to show up to these meetings. You want to show up for your clubs, for your schools, whatever it is that you're participating in, your sports. So that could potentially be it. I've just heard from various people who, they were relieved because they're more introverted, and that's how it's allowed them to get a little bit of respite or rest, right, from those social obligations of sorts. And I think, again, as a task force, like, what we need more of are like young people. We need youth. Like, I'm considered like a young person in our group, and I'm in my, I guess, late 30s. but it's like we need more voices. We need more people to kind of come to the table and let us know, like, how can we support you. So same thing with this group. You can let us know, like, how can we support your group if you want to do training, if you want just more resources. For example, the Kaua'i High School, the student council, I gave them those packets too that I brought for you guys, and they distributed it as part of their Spirit Week, I guess, activities. If people participated in their activity, they got a packet, and in the different packets, I just kind of put in like gift cards or just like random things. And then actually they had the sign, so it's a Prevent Suicide Kaua'i Task Force. So they were taking pictures and doing hashtag Prevent Suicide Kaua'i. So again, a lot of it is like the role that each of us can play. Because, by the way, I'm not like a mental health counselor. I'm not a doctor or anything like that. Like, I'm an everyday person that I guess just likes to talk or share information. So I end up sharing, again, my experiences, and from the American Association of Suicidology conference, which I guess participated in twice, both virtually so far because of pandemic. But the really great training that I got from that, the biggest piece was that the most impactful people within that field for mental health and suicide prevention are the people with lived experience, is what you call it. Is they don't necessarily have that title or the degree behind or in front of their name, but they're just genuinely can share. They can genuinely speak, and again, connect people to resources and make sure people are heard. Because that's like the biggest thing, right? If nobody thinks anybody cares about them, if they think they're it doesn't matter if they're here or not, that no one will miss them, but it's not the case, which is why, like, on those packets that you guys have, like, I created, I'm gonna try to hold it up here. I know it's harder to read, but it says you matter, a reminder that you matter. Wherever you are, know that we're grateful for you. Your family is grateful for you. Your friends are grateful for you. Your community is grateful for you. You matter and you are loved. And that's what I believe, like, for every person, like, especially when you're in your dark space, right? When you're down for so long and you feel like nothing's going your way, like, that's the piece where if it's not your family, if it's not your friends, then there's other communities of support. And that's where, in a sense, while I actually applaud, like, when teens don't spend so much time on social media, I that's the aspect for me that I'm able to find communities, right, where they focus on mental health, they focus on lifting each other up. And so that's what we've been aiming to do in that sense through that You Got This Kaua'i campaign for Post It Forward. I'm going to stop there for now, unless there's anything else.
So you said it's 20 over the last 3 to 4 years, or 20 per year?
It was in the 20s per year. So I think, I'm trying to remember if it was 2016, 17, 18. Each year it was like in the 20s, like. And then, so this past year, from one of our meetings, like, we don't talk statistics at every single task force meeting, but it does come up, and we're trying to have a more formal process so that it can get kind of analyzed or assessed, right? Because if it's a particular portion of the island, and demographic wise, it's typically male 18 to 35, I think is the range, might be 33, that end up taking their lives within our island. But then there are areas, right, of the community, and then same thing, like, everyone people can only guess the why, and it's more of kind of the people who are, I guess, on the after the loss end of things. It's being able to heal from that trauma, heal from that loss, and that's where we focus a lot too on we say hope, help, healing. Is you want to give people hope, and that's what it is, like through this community, through that Prevent Suicide Quad Task Force, through talking, connecting, and then the help, right, are the resources. And really, like, I feel like each of us, like, we heal, like, as far as the task force members go, we heal through being able to help others. And like I say it in my trainings, and I just say it in general, I guess, when I have these kinds of conversations, is that, like, I think about when I end up getting overwhelmed and I'm struggling myself. I think about, okay, what do I teach people to do? What do I share? What are the healthy coping skills, right? Because there's a lot of bad ways that we could cope with things, but it just makes things worse for us. So I try to think on that, and then that tends to help me out. And likewise, I just kind of let people know, like my friends and family and stuff, like, hey, I'm having a really difficult time right now. Like, one of the difficult times for me a couple years ago, and even now, is with grief, losing my best friend. I say Hanai sister, but I say sister. My best friend and sister, from when we were 3 and 4 years old. She died of cancer 2 years ago, and her birthday's coming up next week. So this is a really hard time of the year for me, apart from the day that she passed. But those kinds of things too, right? Like, that affects your mental health and your wellness. And so that's where too, like, having the words to express and say, or maybe write or sing, all of that to let people know how you're doing, and also to notice how are other people, right? Like, how do you reach out to them? I think that was the big piece too, that, like, with these resources, like I said, I shared that lifeline number, which it's that 1-800-273-TALK or 8255. But, like, what I always tell people is, don't just give somebody the number, and you guys will have the cards in the packet, so you'll see it. But I tell people to also offer to call it with that person, because it's really scary already that they're having those serious thoughts, or maybe they have a plan and all of that, that leaving them on their own to, like, call, right? Like, they may or may not call. It's a really good resource, free, 24/7, confidential, but it's also a very difficult thing, because you're, like, acknowledging that this is where I'm at, right? And it's a scary place to be. And so that's where, if you bring it up first, if you talk about, like, what you notice, what signs that you see, hear, like, things people are saying or doing, like giving away their belongings, if their hygiene is, like, they're all disheveled, or they're usually so sweet and they're angry, or they've been down for a while and now they're happy again. That's also, like, a sign of, like, they've made a decision, so they have that relief or plan. And so it is that idea of being able to notice what is different for this person, what's unusual about the behavior, what's unusual about things, and then kind of saying that and asking them, are you thinking about suicide? Being able to listen without judgment, and just really just listen to them, because once you ask that question, it's like a big sense of relief. And then once you are there to just listen, you don't have to have the answers. It's really just based on, like, your intuition of, like, what to say, in like a helpful way to that person, just to show them that you care about them. And then I teach, it's called Keep Safe in the Safe Talk curriculum, but it's essentially a safety plan. But they have to come up with that plan, or you can help them, but they have to agree to it. So there's, like, it's not just you're going to go from step 1 through 4. It's going to be a fluid process, and it might be throughout that person's lifetime they're going to have struggles, so it's not a one and done thing. But the most important thing you can do is to talk about it, to ask, to listen, and yeah, like, there's so many more things to say on this, but I hope that was at least kind of a helpful start to it. And I have to see if anybody had actually even signed up for it, but I'm hosting a training in a couple days virtually, Thursday night, so the 16th. Let's see. the 16th, and the 23rd. So if not this week, but if you're available next week, then we can kind of talk more about this. So you might hear the same stuff again, but it's a good thing because you want that repetition. You want it to become more comfortable to know the resources and be able to talk about it with such an uncomfortable subject, right? Because people just avoid this stuff. And really, like, if you guys are PALS school like 2:30 or even 3 and you show up at 4, like, just check it out and join us. Everybody introduces themselves at the meetings, and there is this Hawai'i training. I'm not sure if they might have like a couple seats left, 1 or 2. This is in the Kaua'i. That's at the end of the month. And then Kaua'i mental health advocates, community conversations, same thing. It's like resources. And so if you don't make it for this one, I'm facilitating this one. So it's, so you have lots of different opportunities. And again, like, I think this is like such a great thing that Sarah guys decided, like, hey, let's talk about these things. Let's talk about resources. And I'm just trying to find these flyers here. This is for the Post It Forward or Ohana challenges. So I'm gonna stop share for now and pause there.
In order to attend those, would the students, where would they find the Zoom link? Would they go to?
It would be preventsuicidekaua'i.org. Yeah, so that is, I had shared it in the chat earlier, but I think it would be, let me copy paste it again, but it's just preventsuicidekaua'i.org is the link itself. And it switches to Linktree. So when I copy paste it here, it's that one.
And I know we posted that overarching document that had all your dates in
Yeah,
it. So probably
Thank
we
you.
can go from there too, right? I mean, yeah,
Right.
that was a good one to start with. And we are going to post about the Post-it challenge and stuff too. And we'll just, I mean, I think the thing, it's just important to always be talking about it. I mean, everyone's busy. There's so much going on, and this is such an important thing that, I mean, when I was in high school, people didn't even talk about it, period. So I think, just being able to meet Patricia and realize that all those resources are out there, but knowing a person connected to it just makes it that much better. And, I think, because we didn't have as many students as I was hoping might join us today, but I do think I'll look into the Post-it challenge, and, maybe at the start of a meeting, we could is that something you could kind of do in a few minutes and just, do a little exercise that way, because I don't want this to be like a one and done thing. And, we did post up, you probably can't see it, but I did post up this card on our bulletin board.
Thank you.
And everyone will get the packets. I'm not hoarding them, but I think it's so important. And, now we know you as well, and we can think about other ways, because that's what we talk about, collaboration and connecting and communication. It's just, all of it is so important. So it's, this is just our first opportunity.
Oh, definitely. And then for the Post It Forward, I mean, for the students that are here, I mean, you don't have to do it right now, because I know you guys have your 30-minment session, right? That you have to go over everything, and when you meet.
Well, no, we'll probably, as long as today, we'll just feature you. That's fine. We don't really have much to do. So,
okay.
As long as you want to, we finish at 4, but other than that, it's wide open.
Okay. Yeah, if you did want to, we can do the Post It Forward together, because it literally doesn't take long. It can take like a couple minutes here. And the whole idea is to write a message to uplift somebody. It can be a person, it can be, an organization, it can be whoever it is that you want to address and say mahalo to. Like, that's the main idea or point of it. And then let me go ahead and let me see.
Yeah, is that good with you guys? I think that would be a good
if that works
exercise
out
to do.
Awesome.
And
okay.
Yeah, no, that would be great. Then we can facilitate it better too.
Sounds great. Let's see here. I'm just trying to pull up these.
Patricia,
What's that?
I have a question for you. I was
Yes.
wondering, what advice do you give either to students or adults who, like you said, it's such a almost taboo topic. Like people don't really, even if their intuition says that they're concerned about somebody, you know, students and adults might not know what to say, and just reaching out and saying, you know, hey, are you thinking about suicide, seems, you know, almost like a reach kind of question. So what advice would you give for students or adults who are worried about someone, and they'd like to approach them, but don't know how to start that conversation?
Right. So that's a lot of what I guess my trainings are about, or more so the Safe Talk is that it's what do you see, hear, all of that, like what is different about that person, right? So it's a lot of like, you will say like, hey, you know, Sarah, for example, like I've noticed maybe you haven't been coming to class lately, or you've been like, you kind of say like what is different, maybe I don't want to say the hygiene part, right? but like essentially like what is different, like why would you're giving me your favorite like pet, right? Like, or this is your favorite bracelet, like you would never part with this, like what's going on? Like you kind of say like the things that alarmed you or alerted you, we call them invitations or the tells. Like what is the tell or the invitation that that person gave that something's not right? And so you kind of start to list and say what it is. And then, you know, I really care about you, Sarah, like we've been friends for a while now, and you know, I really need to ask you this. And then you can just say, are you thinking about suicide? And we try to get people to say that specific question, because it's not, are you thinking about harming yourself? You're not thinking of doing anything stupid, are you? Like, you know, people have all their versions of like, they're well-meaning and everything, but it's not very clear. It's not, you don't get that clear, direct answer. And it's also, we say that, are you thinking about suicide? Because there's no mistaking what you're asking them, you know? And then, but if you need to, you can say, are you thinking of killing yourself? And of course, that's like a heavy question to ask, a heavy thing to say. And I've had to ask people like super close to me where I felt like, why couldn't I say, like, it was hard to spit the words out myself. And of course, and part of that is because you're afraid of the answer, right? If it's a yes, then what do? If it's a no, like, are they going to get mad at you for asking? But I say like, you wanna like, in this case, like be pushy or persistent, because it's like, well, I'd rather you be mad at me and, you know, alive because I asked, or you knew I was here to support you, possibly, versus I don't ask, you know, and I just don't reach out, even if you notice, you see, like I feel like when I was during that really bad time, I don't know if it's been like 6 years, 7 years, whatever it was, I know I was disheveled. I know I looked different. I know I, you know, didn't really have that same energy or speak up in meetings or whatever. I was going through the motions of things and I was just numb. And I wish somebody had asked, like, I wish somebody noticed. And I was thinking like, how can people not notice things? And again, like, just because somebody is deep in their depression doesn't mean they're thinking about suicide. It's more that anxiety, that prolonged despair, prolonged feeling of hopelessness. And we call it layers of loss too. So layers of loss is like, in 2019, well, it would have been December 2018, my great grandmother had passed suddenly in the beginning of December. And then same thing, my best friend, she was finally coming home because chemo wasn't working anymore. So she was dying of cancer. We have lost another aunt to cancer, a couple uncles, cousin died in a plane crash. My classmate, when I got back from a trip to a conference, like the day I got back or that next day I went to his funeral, you know, like that was one of my classmates. And then we had like another uncle in the hospital. I visited him and then had to go to Oahu for work stuff. And then like, you know, he came back and, you know, I knew he was passing. There was like all that stuff all at once. I was serving on like 7, 8 different committees and boards. And so I've dialed it way, way back community wise for my own health because, right, that's stretching myself too thin. But I know a chunk of that too was that I knew my best friend, my sister was dying. So that's a way to cope, but right, it wasn't in a healthy way. So that's what I'm working on now. So it is like, what do you notice? What is different? Asking that question, listening. A lot of people like to judge it. Oh, that's not a problem. Like, that's not a big deal. All you have to do is, right? And they provide a solution, but that's not the point. Don't say, so we say, like, don't try to, right, solve the problem for them. Just listen. Just say, wow, that sounds hard. That's difficult. That sucks. Like, whatever words you want to use, right? And that's organically, again, like, use your intuition, use your gut, on what to say to this person who's just in such a space, or just sit there and say, I don't know what to do, but we can figure it out together. Let's find some resources. Let's find some help. I don't know what to do, but let's reach out. So and so might know, like, hey, I heard of this number. So when we do the training, that's kind of the scenario or example I give people, because they have to like do the process themselves, right? Is like, hey, I took this class recently. I have this card. It has the number. And so, like Sarah had showed the card earlier, this one, I mean, this is the bigger version. We have a smaller version, which is in your guys' packets too. But same thing. It's like, I took this class lately. I don't remember anything the lady said. She talked a whole lot, but I remember this number, and it's a 24/7 number. And just to, I guess, kind of close this resource portion, when you call this number, you can explain the process to them too, or even just call it just to find out what it is. But essentially, you're calling. They'll ask if you're thinking about suicide, but you can help them call. So I've called for other people, and I say, hey, my friend's having a hard time. I give them like a brief recap of what's going on, and this is why they're thinking about suicide. And then I hand the phone to them, and they, and I say, is there anything I missed? Is that correct? Right. And then that person, the crisis counselor, will like talk with them on the phone, and you can be sitting right there. You're like, there's their support. But again, a lot of it is they have to want to live themselves. They want to have to find what makes them hopeful, right? What is their purpose? And I know for some people who like I've never met, I was kind of helping them through other people who've taken my trainings, and they say, hey, I spoke to my friend or my coworker, and yeah, he hasn't done it yet, right? Hasn't done anything yet, but he wants to. But he has 2 young children. He has like this one teen that, like, a student at the time, when in a certain job, he really loved video games, and he wanted to be like a professional gamer. And of course, like I don't want to say of course, but like, people were kind of down on his dreams, and that was part of like his distress of sorts, as somebody had stolen his virtual characters. You spend so much time making these, leveling them up, right? You're on the grind, you're trying to like gain all the experience, the equipment, the whatever, but people had stolen his characters that he spent like so much time on. He was like really devastated. And some people might say, oh, that's so stupid. Like, so what? It's just a game, like, not a big deal. But to him, it was important. To him, it was special. And that really affected him. And he already had a mental health condition. So, it amplifies it, right? When something goes wrong. And that's where too, like through the Kaua'i Resilience Project, which is, you got this Kaua'i Planning Action Alliance. There's a whole bunch of groups. It's all together. And I'm part of those groups as well. That's why we try to teach or have trainings or make available resources for healthy coping, to build up youth resiliency. That's the focus, is youth suicide prevention and resiliency, so that you have like healthy ways to respond. But the thing where, I guess in talking with this teen, when he kind of told me he was thinking, to take his own life, it was like talking with him on the phone, having the actually police go to the family home so that to make sure that he would be safe. But I was on the phone with him the whole time, just saying, hey, this is what is happening. This is what, is I'm going to do. Is it okay if, I send police to your home? That way you're there and we can talk story, right? And so I stayed on the phone. And I guess the police said by the time we got there was something I had said to him about, because he was really young, like, high school, a teenager, you know, and essentially that something I said about because of his age and everything too, and I reminded him of, like I said, I thought your dream, you wanted to do gaming, you wanted to go to this convention, you wanted to do this, you wanted that. I was just telling him stuff that I remember he told me. And then, you know, he decided not to do anything, at least, you know, for now. We would say keep safe for now. And if same thing, a lot of people, it's day by day, that's all you can do. Like, and I know for me, again, like in depression, like that's all you can do sometimes is just getting out of bed, brushing your teeth, is a win. You know, like getting out of bed, making sure you eat something, even if, you know, bowl of cereal, whatever, that's a win. If you are able to get up, go to school, or do your homework, whatever, like that, like that's a huge win, and you need to give yourself credit for that. It doesn't have to be some grand gesture or projects and things. And I guess again, like I do a lot of different things. Like my grandpa's 91st birthday is today, where I'm finishing editing a video. He's an entertainer performer, so that I can like upload it to YouTube. So that's what I'm doing after this. And I've never done that kind of editing or cutting or filming or whatever before, but you figure it out and you just kind of do stuff, right? And you figure it out along the way. And I think that's in talking with Sarah last week and even Friday on the at Kaua'i Grove, it's like people think like everyone has a plan, right? Everyone knows what they're going to do, or that we ended up where we are because we knew we were going to do that. Some people know. I had no idea, and it was a really, like we say, meandering journey to different things that I've done before, to what I'm doing now. But it fits, right? I just always kind of followed what felt right for me, followed what and for me, again, like I wasn't sure if what's that thing called, I wasn't sure about, didn't have that like clear path, right? Like, oh, this is what I'm going to be when I grow up, you know, this is what, and you just transform over time. It's based on what you feel like you want to do. And that's what I was going to say is, if you're in a job, I'm not sure if some of you are already working or not, and don't be in a rush. Take your time for sure if you don't have to. But essentially, like once I wasn't learning anything in a position, wherever it was, because I worked like ABC stores, you know, like right out of high school. I had Hanai auntie uncles that worked there and was family and everything. So I worked there. I worked at the state legislature, actually, for a then senator. And then I've worked in the library system, Boys and Girls Club of Hawaii. I've worked with the state of Hawaii through the University of Hawaii system. I've done like a wide range two-way radio communications. I mean, I did the sales end of that, but I've just done such like a wide range of things. But again, like once I wasn't learning anymore, once I didn't feel like I was growing, I think generationally, that's what we want, right? You want to be happy with what you do and not just have a job, but like feel like you have that impact, right? Like I guess this generation seems to want to choose more so something meaningful to you versus that career that place you're going to stay or job you're going to stay for like decades. Like it's a whole new world. Speaking of which, the last thing I wanted to share is apart from the You Got This, which we can totally do in a couple of minutes. Here it is. I have so many links open. Libby. If you guys haven't ever used Libby before, download it. It's an app where you just use your library card. You can borrow ebooks, you can borrow audiobooks. This whole past year, I just like endlessly downloaded and consumed audiobooks while I was doing things. But I learned a ton about business and finances and marketing and just stuff for fun, you know, just books that were just fun to listen to. And it really helps, like I said, stimulate your brain and your mind and everything to get it moving. And I guess with that, sorry, you end at 4 p.m. So I just looked at the time. With the You Got This campaign, if you guys have your Post-it, if you have your paper or whatever it is, if you want to get it out, and again, like you can do it right now together, or same thing, just think on it of what you want to do. Is if you are on, let's see here. If you're on Instagram, this is where you're going to enter, is at You Got This Kaua'i. And then we have had grand prize winners. It's $250, by the way. you get in gift cards, but you get to pick like where, and we just say like, hey, pick local businesses. It's kind of like our only stipulation of sorts, but you can pick out where you want your prizes from. And sometimes we only get a couple entries, sometimes we get a couple dozen. I'm hoping for this month's challenge, we get a lot more, and you can kind of see like a history of different things. And of course for Kaua'i CSC, this is how we ended up speaking, because you guys have been so wonderful in sharing our stuff. So I just like put together those. I think it's always fun. I love the colors and the design of your guys' posts and things too. So for with You Got This, the main steps is that you have to follow us. So You Got This Kaua'i Resilience Project, tag You Got This Kaua'i, and if possible, if you're writing say about a person, so if it's your parents and they have a Instagram, or you can have them actually post it for you. That was the other piece, is if you don't have social media, is you can have somebody else post it on your behalf, and that's totally okay. They just have to let us know. And so you tag, you're gonna hashtag You Got This Kaua'i, post it for Kaua'i. That way we can find it, right? These are the important ones, so I can find it. And then you just post your note, and that's gonna be gratitude, appreciation. And then this is the main flyer. It's all at that preventsuicidekaua'i.org, because again, for Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, when you're writing a note to like lift someone up, it helps their mental health, but it helps your own. And then so you write the note, and there's like a bunch of details. There's so much I guess examples. So you can write them a note, and then you can leave the note. So you could leave it in like their laptop, or their on the mirror, in the kitchen, on the dashboard, in the backpack, and wherever you can think of. I say tip jars for the business, but like maybe leave a tip also if you can, right? Like leave them the $1 like attached to the post-it or something. And the gratitude wall. So if there's like a space at the Kaua'i CSC, just even like a portion of the wall, like you want to like put post-its and say what you guys appreciate about like Sarah and Elena, or about each other. That would be like really sweet, you know, so you can take a picture of that and just share it. Like it's a pretty broad kind of rules, because that way it's easy. And
no, that's awesome.
Yeah, to keep it simple.
No, that's great. I think
Yeah.
it definitely next something we can do at least once this month. And I like that idea of a gratitude wall just for everybody.
Yeah,
Generally to have
yeah,
it.
definitely. And same thing in your schools and anywhere else that you'd like to have it at. So yeah,
Awesome.
thank you guys so much. I know it's at I guess a minute past now, but thank you so much for having me, and feel free to reach out. I have a Calendly, or it's easy to get a hold of me. So I guess that's the long and short version. Yeah.
Thank you, Patricia.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're super welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks
guys
so much. It was great. And like I said, we'll be in touch. I'll give everybody their goodie bags, and we'll definitely be back in touch and figure out how to do something again, and vice versa. If there's something we can do for you, just let us know. We'll keep posting. And
yes, and the
great
themes
to
are
share.
Thank you. And the challenges are monthly, so the theme is going to change, but it's still that $250 prize. And we give out at least 5 $25 gift cards, maybe more, just depends on sponsors and partners and things. But again, like visit me at the kiosk on Friday, or just come to any of these meetings or events, and just like let me know that you're there, and then I'll make sure I send you something, or I'll meet up and give you stuff. So yeah. All right.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take good care.
Aloha.
Have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thank
Aloha.
you. Right. Aloha.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
We'll be in touch. Bye.